All right, gang, it's the Tuesday show. You saw how the last episode went. That wasn't great. I have made the decision, the unilateral executive decision as the only person involved in this series, to call it a fucking day. I'm not doing this anymore. I hate this game. But I do kind of want to know how it ends, and I want to know why, in whatever twisted universe there is, why someone really loves this game. And so I brought in my spiritual advisor / nemesis on this series, Zaheda. Zaheda, say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Everyone being like four people, usually including yourself.
Yes, myself included.
So yeah, you have not seen any of the series as of yet. You've just heard me through me as I like immediately as soon as I hit done on on an episode, I come running to your Instagram DMs and I'm like, what the fuck is this game? What have you gotten me into? So like where I left off is at the end of Stone Tower Temple. Is that what it's called? Stone Tower.
Yep.
It's the last regular temple. I left
Yeah.
off at the boss fight of the twin mold fight, which was so frustrating and so irritating. And I don't know, like, just tell me, first of all, give me your overall thoughts on the game as a whole, what it means to you, and then kind of guide me through the last quarter here that I missed. Or I don't know if you told me I was pretty close to the end. So like, what would you say? Like the last 15-20% of the game. Tell me kind of what I missed out
on. So Twin Mold is a shitty boss. I'll just start with that. It is the worst boss, right, in the entire game. It's not.
Oh, I would beg to differ. Even though I didn't finish it, there's one I feel like would make me crazier.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, the fish from the last temple.
Okay, so let's start with the first question, which is what do I like?
Yeah, what does the game mean to you? Like this is your favorite Zelda game. I don't think would you go so far as to say it's your favorite game full stop, or is it just your favorite Zelda game?
I think it's my favorite Zelda game, but Zelda games are, near the top for me, regardless. But I would say of all games in the Zelda series, this is my favorite. And it is fueled almost entirely by like nostalgia, right? This is a game that I got when I was 12. It was my first like big girl video game system.
Nice.
That my uncle got me an N64, and like I was like, oh, Zelda. And then it was like Majora's Mask, and it was the gold version, like the golden cartridge of that. Yeah. So I got that, and I think I got it because it was gold and it was Zelda, right? And then my sister, who is a year older than I, we sat down to start playing it. And the first day we sat down to play it, I think started at 7:00, and then we didn't figure it out until maybe 12:30. That was the latest I'd been able to like stay up. But the very first part of that game, at the very end, when you figure out you have to play the Song of Time, when you pull out your ocarina, right, for the first time, that was just like such a revelation for us. It was like a 12 and 13-year-old. You don't think about these things, right? So when I think we had to play it twice or something, because once you get into that clock tower at the end of midnight, that timer starts, right? I think it's 5 minutes. There's it's a timer on a timer, right?
Great. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So you have to think under pressure. And we were just running around trying to hit the fucking Skull Kid with the little bubble things, and it wasn't working. And then I was like, wait, Tattle keeps saying the instrument. And then we had this revelation. And from there on out, it just felt like a game where you have to just fight against insurmountable odds to progress. And I think as a 12-year-old, that's really fun.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I've definitely experienced that with Ocarina, where that game is that's my Majora for me. Like that's the one that I discovered. I did not grow up. I wasn't cool. I didn't get expansion pack for my N64. So I couldn't play Majora. That's why Majora has sat on like this shelf for the last 20 years of like haven't played it, because first as a kid I didn't have the expansion pack, and then
what is the expansion pack? Because I could just plug it into my N64 and just play it. I don't know. Did I get something special?
Well, I know when it was first released, it came with it. And it was the little thing that sticks into the front of the N64. It's a little black box with like a red cover on it, and it sits right in that little like clippy piece in the front of your N64. And so if you like, I had like a base model N64, like, so games like it only worked for certain, it only meant something for certain games, like Majora's Mask, I know was one. Perfect Dark, I know was another. Like you couldn't do anything outside of the multiplayer in Perfect Dark without it. Like you couldn't do the campaign without it. And then I think Donkey Kong 64 was another one that needed the expansion pack, and you couldn't do anything without it. So I didn't have that as a kid, so I never played it then. And then I think by the time the next thing that would have come out that would have had it would have been the Wii U. And I just didn't get a Wii U until it was like way after, like I got a Wii U in like 2017 or 2018. So it was way after it. So Majora, like I waited like a full like 20 years past when it was new to play this game.
Yeah.
And so I've had like, and I've had 20 years of people, you know, like yourself telling me how great Majora's Mask is and how it's like Ocarina, but better. And even doing this series, like I discovered stuff as I was going through Ocarina where I was like, man, if I was discovering Ocarina now, like as an adult and trying to parse through some of this nonsense, I don't know that I would have stuck with it. Like, I don't know that I would have kept up with this, because this is fucking like, I mean, obviously there's the technical challenges of like Z targeting and, you know, all of the fun that comes along with early 3D Zeldas. But like even just some of the puzzle design is so like rudimentary, but also repetitive and tedious and annoying. And you're just like, man, if a fully functional adult found this game for the first time, there is no way they would finish it. So yeah, there's definitely an element of that in Majora for sure.
It beats you up, right? Like
it
that.
does.
It does. And it's unforgiving, and it punishes you when you don't figure things out in time. And that is not an easy mechanic to handle. I don't really know how a child thought that was fun, but who knows? You know, I was playing Final Fantasy VII at the same time, and that is another game that is like, you know, that's too much for a 10 or 11-year-old. Like I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
But it is, but at the same time, it's also the only age at which you are prepared to put up with the mental anguish to finish it, you know. Like
that's exactly it.
You have infinite time. Like what else are you going to do? You're 11.
And I think you don't have the cynicism and years of experience of good game design at that point, right? Well, like playing games that are good. Okay, Majora's Mask is great though. Let me not.
But for real though, like, would you, if you had played stuff like, you know, I know you said you're playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now. Like, if you were playing through something like one of those Ubisoft open world-ish type deals, and then you had to try to go back for the first time, fresh, with no nostalgia whatsoever, to Z targeting and a camera that handles like a Buick, like would you be able to do that and still get the same kind of warm and fuzzies? Because I don't know that I could. Like, and I love Ocarina probably more than any other game ever made, and I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah, it's not the same, right? Now that you revisit things as an adult, it's just not the same. And I don't have the same experience as you. And I think you got the shitty end of the stick here by playing the N64 version on the Wii U.
Oh yeah. That disclaimer from the top, which I think I've said throughout the series, I was playing, thank God.
Rest in peace.
It's in my rearview mirror. I was playing this game in the worst possible way imaginable. Like the worst version, like the worst way to experience that game for the first time on a quote unquote stream, like trying to like do things for time, trying to talk my way through them, playing it on the Wii U, which is awful. I cannot understate how awful it is to play N64 games on the Wii U. It sucks.
Are you using the controller at least, like not the big Wii pad?
No, I'm using the gamepad, because like
you're kidding.
That's all I have. I don't have a controller. So yeah, I was using the gamepad. I was doing all this shit. Yeah, like even like I made it through probably like 90% of Ocarina before I started using restore points, because I thought that was like cheating, or like I thought I would like, I'm gonna ruin the sanctity of this series if I start using restore points. I was using restore points from like the 3rd episode of Majora. Like I was like, I have to. This is awful. It's yeah.
I like, having heard what you went through, being immediately texted afterward about how harrowing your journey was. Like I really feel for you, and I feel not like pity or like I feel anguish that someone else isn't, not really anguish, but like I am sad that you're not enjoying the game, or you didn't enjoy the game now that it's in the back. But were there any parts that you did enjoy? Did you think that they were, redemptive in a way?
Yeah, no, and I think I think I said this too, like I wanted so desperately to like it because I feel like it is like it does have an interesting story, or it has a story that is interesting on surface level. Like if you are giving somebody like an elevator pitch for the story for that game, like it's like, okay, that's really cool. And I like, it's obviously built on the back of Ocarina graphically and stuff, so obviously like visually it's very similar to Ocarina, but then they also did things um with it that made it more like the world is much more vibrant, much more colorful,
Saturated.
yeah, like there just seems to be more going on in the world. The world of Ocarina is pretty with a few exceptions, is pretty sterile. Like it was technologically kind of impressive for the time, but it kind of has the depth of a puddle. It doesn't really have a ton.
Had so many people in it. What are you talking about?
Right, that one little area had a lot going on. That one little like 4x4 square, and then everywhere else is abandoned.
Yeah, just super fair.
So yeah, so like in that sense, like I walked around a lot going like, man, I would love to have the time to explore this and really like dig into all of this stuff and just poke around. And again, I found myself like undone by the time mechanic thing of just like, there's this constant reminder in the lower third of your screen where it's just like time is just like slipping away. And I was like, and I don't like, I already don't love time mechanics in games. Timed missions are like one of my least favorite things game design wise. So having an entire game built around that is like, that's another reason why I've never bothered to check this game out in 20 years, is because I was like, oh, there's an entire game built around the thing I hate most in games. Great. Don't think I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
So
in defense of the time mechanic, though, there is something really, really rewarding about figuring something out and then it being the end of your 3 days. And then when you reset the 3 days, you figured it out, you understand the sequence of events that needs to occur, and then you do that, and then you move on to the next bit. And like for me, that's not necessarily awful. It's not like, oh my God, all my work is undone after this. And I think that's just, it depends on the type of gamer you are, right? Like if you really want to get something, I'm also like the type of person that, and for people who play, like, if you romance people in games and things like that, if I do something wrong, right, and like that person's attitude towards me change, I will load 4 hours beforehand and go again. I know it's awful, but that's just the type of gamer I am too. I think it's just like, are you willing to have the patience? And it's funny because I'm not a patient person in real life, but if I'm like enjoying a game, I will go through that. So
now we're getting into the damage. Like now we're getting into this. Like you have to be a very specific type of broken to really love this game. Like to really enjoy repeating over and over and over. Now I will say
it's perfect, right?
Right until it's
perfectionism.
Yeah, I guess that's part of it.
No, is it? I don't know.
I think it is part of it. Like because I will say, so the other part of this is that. As you well know, I made it a solid 3/4 of the way into this game before I realized how the time mechanic actually worked. Where I was under the impression this whole time,
yeah, that's right.
I was under the impression this whole time that the premise or the goal of the game was to defeat all 4 temples, defeat all of the cleanse the evil or whatever the thing is, and then go beat the final boss all in one 3-day cycle. Which is why they gave you the little warp pads to get to the bosses in each temple. I figured like, okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm going through and I'm figuring out how to beat all these bosses. And then I'm going to have to do it all as one boss rush back to back. And then you were like, no, moron. Like you, like it's cumulative. Like
it is.
Like you get credit, which to me completely invalidates the time mechanic. Like it makes it completely like it's there just to torture you then, because you're keeping if you reset time, why doesn't all the stuff you did reset?
It does. Technically it does, right? It's just like
it does, but you still get credit for beating that boss. Like
you still have the mask that for the person you healed or like the masks you collected, right? And I think that's actually one of the greatest things about the game is that it does reward you for completing those cycles. And if you have to continue to complete those cycles over and over, which you obviously do to complete the game, there are still remnants of the path you took, of the quests you completed, to get that mask or to get the fucking bow and arrow, right? Like things like that. So I don't know. I think that especially as a child when you're playing this game, it's just discovery, it's excitement. And like, I did not do this without a guide. You know, I had that little Prima book. You know I did. So it's not as if, and I think like we would just sit there and read it and have no idea what was going on. And then as we played it, we're like, oh, this makes sense, right? But yeah, I mean, no one did that shit without a guide. Are you kidding me? Not at 12 years old. I mean, if you did, then that's like you were way more gifted than I was as a child. So it's tough.
I'm trying to remember if I used a guide for Ocarina when I was a kid. I'm sure I must have. And if I didn't, I'm sure it was like I was using the playground guide, you know, like I was using the like talk to your friends on the playground and like, did you figure out where to get the like last thing or whatever? Like there had to be like, I know I was the first of my group of friends to beat the Spirit Temple. And so there was like a solid 2 or 3 weeks where I was getting called over to other friends' houses to help them beat the Spirit Temple.
That's
because
sweet.
that was the spot where everybody was getting stuck. And so I was the like only one who had done it successfully. And so they were like, can you help us?
The Spirit Temple is a tough one. I think I told you I hated that temple. That was the worst one.
See, and I think it's my favorite. Like I love the
hover
music.
boots.
I love the music. No. You're thinking of the Shadow Temple.
Oh, which is a Spirit Temple?
Spirit Temple's the last one. It's the one where you get.
Oh,
it's the one
Gerudo one.
Yeah, you have to do it as young and adult. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I hated that one too.
No, it's got the best music. You get the mirror shield, can we talk about how ugly the mirror shield is in Majora?
But that's like the whole point. It's like a corruption. That's what I think is so cool about like the lore of Majora's Mask versus Ocarina of Time. I don't know. I think that's super neat. Sorry about my dog, but
he's got strong opinions about it too. He hates the mirror shield too.
I think that the mirror shield in Majora's is like much rounder and it's got that fucking face on it. And I don't know, but it's like, that's the really cool thing about Majora's Mask. And I don't know if this is me just making up shit because this is how I feel about it. But I played Ocarina of Time soon thereafter, after I beat Majora's Mask. I think I played it the summer after I beat Majora's. And I loved Ocarina of Time. And I remember playing it and I was like, it didn't necessarily feel easier, right? But it felt like it wasn't as punishing. And so I think I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
But as I've grown older, it's like Ocarina of Time is a very like straightforward game. It's very
it's pretty linear.
It's linear and there's not a lot of like dynamism with the characters. I mean, there isn't really in Majora's either. If we're being honest, it's linear just with the timeline.
Yeah, Zelda's not really very much with the dynamic. I mean, you're on a pretty set track no matter what you're doing. It's just a matter of how big the scope of the game is.
Yeah, like Breath of the Wild is.
Yeah,
much bigger. But I think there's a little bit of dynamism in Breath of the Wild because you can choose not to do the Divine Beast. You can like not do the side quests and like enjoy the richness of the world and things like that, right?
You can go to Ganon's castle right away if you want to. Like you're gonna get your ass kicked, but you can go.
If you're Jake and you try master mode and then like cry, I mean, do you know that he went to a shrine and around the corner was a guardian scout, right? It's just a scout, a scout.
Yep.
This guy blew himself up with a bomb arrow. And that's it. He pulled the game out, he put it back in its case. He's like, I'm done with this game. So, you want to talk about somebody who doesn't have any perseverance. That man hates Majora's Mask and I understand why. But it's not a game for everybody. I think I'm starting to realize that as an adult. It's just not. And I think it is very punishing. It's very hard to progress if you have your back up against a wall or you're hitting your head against a wall. You just don't know what to do next. And I think, despite Tattle, who's a little fairy, telling you, hey, go here next. But once you get there, like, what the fuck, right? But I'll say this. I think that there's a mastery that's involved of the characters that you assume. So, once you get the Deku Scrub mask, which is the very first mask you get, where you get turned into a Deku Scrub. There's a lot of mastery involved with learning how to go from flower to flower without dying. The fucking, I don't know if you ever figured this out. I always wanted to tell you, but I think you were past Woodfall at this point already. But when you're jumping on the lily pads, right? You can actually spin off the lily pad to give yourself momentum. So those 5 hops you get will carry you farther. Yes. So, and that's just shit you figure out by either dying or playing that game a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, as somebody who's not like revisiting it as an adult, playing it on the superior version that they remastered for the 3DS, it is so much easier than I remember, but I also have the mastery of these characters and their skill sets and their movesets. And that just takes time. And if you're not if you're trying to get out, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a game. It is. And I think you probably said this before I started on it, where you were like, I don't know if you want to do this on a series. Like, I don't know if you want to experience this game for the first time on a like, I don't know if that's the best idea. And like most of your advice throughout the series, I was like, well, whatever. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It'll be fine. And it was not fine. It was not fine. There's definitely little like idiosyncrasies throughout it where like you said, you pick it up as you go along. And there's there are things about it that I do like. I really like the hero's shield, like the like kind of, it's almost like a redesign of the Hylian shield. Like, yes, but no, like I do actually really like that. The music for the most part, I really like there was very few times where I found myself annoyed by the music, other than when I was getting my ass handed to me repeatedly and I was like having to hear it over and over and over.
The boss music. It's just like starting. Yeah.
The boss music, not my favorite, but speaking of punishing, can we talk about why is every mini boss in this game the most punishing? Like, if you get a mini boss in Ocarina, it's like, all right, couple of hits and we're done here. Like, with the exception of a few. But like, for the most part, it's like couple of hits and we're done here, and you get your item and you move on with your life. Here, it was like each mini boss was like its own boss. Like, it was its own boss fight. Like, there was the I don't think I filmed this one. Like, I don't think it was on an episode. I think I did it off camera because I was so tilted by that point. I started just doing large chunks of this game off camera because I was getting so frustrated with trying to do it on stream that I was like, nah, fuck this. I'm just going to do it on my own. But there was like the Ikana Castle section. Yeah. There was the like the dude who like swings out 2 swords at once, and the only way
right?
Yeah, the knight guy, and he's like only vulnerable. He's only vulnerable in the light. I don't know. There was something to it, and I was like screaming. Like, I was just like, I hate this so much. Like, and I'm like, and again, so much of the damage in this game is self-inflicted because I was still operating under Ocarina rules, where assuming that you're going to have so many temples to go through, you're going to get so many heart containers that you'll just level up kind of naturally as you go. And that was not the case in this game. I think I'm still like, I'm in the last temple, the last boss of the last temple before the end game. And I think I have maybe like 7 hearts. Like, I'm nowhere close to having like the second row of hearts. And I know there's like you can get the thing where it like outlines your hearts in white, where it like decreases your damage.
That's a fairy. I'm pretty sure that's a fairy boon.
Yeah, the fairy thing. I talked so much shit about the fairies. I spent so much time being like, why are these here? I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit about the fairies. Like,
the fairies are there to help you.
Yeah,
they're there to help you.
That's what we're learning here, is that I did not do the reading. I did not do the homework to learn how to play this game properly. And
you read the Cliff Notes, but not even like, it's like a shitty knockoff of Cliff Notes. It's like some high school kid who thought that they could make their own Cliff Notes. Yeah.
Which, if you'll talk to your better half there, he will inform you that was me in high school. I was that kid. I was the Cliff Notes kid. And then I was the kid who would get the Cliff Notes and then bitch about the Cliff Notes being too long. Like, I'd be like, oh God, why are they making me read all this stuff? And it's the shortened version. So we should have seen this coming. Should have seen this coming.
Yes, I see. If I had known you in high school, I would have definitely approached you a different way in this game. I remember that boss. I haven't played this game for a little while, and I just started again. When you told me you were playing it, I picked it up because I had my 3DS, and I got stuck at Snowhead. I just like stopped. My mental block just stopped me, and I was like, I could be playing BioShock or Valhalla, and so
I could do literally anything else with my time. I'm an adult.
Like, he's suffering through it. It's fine. I'll just tell him what I remember.
What's it like to have that level of emotional maturity where you can just quit things like when they're not making you happy anymore instead of beating your head against the wall for 10 episodes?
It took years of therapy and apparently loving Majora's Mask as a child. So I don't know.
You got out of that. You got all that out of the way at 11.
Real early. It's so interesting to hear your perspective on Majora's Mask after you played Ocarina of Time first. I think that really does change it, you know? Because like that's what you're used to. That's your base. That's your foundation. And then if you have Majora's Mask as a foundation, man, I remember the very first time, you know, I don't know, you probably got through this part very quickly, but like in the very opening scene when Skull Kid steals Epona, and you have to like jump on these platforms to get up to go to the next spot. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the tree stumps. The very first time I played that, just that bit took me so long because I was still getting used to the N64 controller. I didn't understand what Z targeting and like refixing the camera was. And this time around on the 3DS, like obviously I'm also 30 years old, so I know how to handle a controller, you know. It was like just so much easier. And I just remember like having these flashbacks of like, oh shit, like is this how it's gonna be? And the game was like that for me. It was super easy. And because I played it so many times, right? I doubt you even did this part. Do you know who Anju and Cafe are? Do you know who those people are? Have you heard the names?
What do they do?
So maybe you've seen Cafe. He's like the little kid with purple hair and a Keaton mask who always comes out of the laundry pool and puts something in the mailbox on the dawn of the first day in Clocktown. Have you seen him?
Probably seen him. Didn't pay attention to him.
There's like this whole, like there are so many things. There's like this whole 3-day timeline. Anju is the stockpot inn owner, or like she's, do you know what the stockpot inn is?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I didn't go in there, but I saw it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So if you go in, like there's a whole bunch of things you can do in there, but she's the person that you can speak to, and she's the in-person, whatever the fuck, receptionist. I don't know. And there's a whole storyline that takes 3 days between her and Cafe. Cafe is that little kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get a mask, you get all these things, but at the end of the game, you actually see the resolution of that. Even if you never did it, you see the resolution of it. And there's all these small things that like, as soon as I started playing, I was like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And I just remember doing it because I played that game so many times that I knew that these were like the cornerstones of progressing, right? The fact that it took you a whole episode to get to the bombers and like the layer or whatever, the astronomy guy.
Yeah.
Took me 10 minutes because I knew exactly what I had to do.
Right.
And I just think that it's tough to play this game for the first time as an adult and expect to have a good time unless you're doing it for fun because you want to. You know?
Which is what I thought I was doing, but clearly was not. Like I clearly was approaching it with the wrong attitude. Yeah, I was approaching it with this like, let's get through this attitude. Like, I don't know, like something about just the time mechanic, going back to that again, like something about that is like so, I don't even know what the word is, but like immediately where I'm put on the defensive immediately where I'm like, time mechanics, no. And then like, I feel like every, puzzle within each dungeon or within each temple felt like either a time mechanic or like a chase quest. Like you need to chase after this guy, and if you lose him, you'll have to start all over. And I was like there was that whole thing after Woodfall Temple where you have to like chase after the butler guy, and I
just totally optional.
Right. And they don't. That's the other thing. They make no distinction in this game about what is and isn't optional. Like they make everything seem like it is totally essential that you have to do all of this stuff. And then half the time I would complain to you about it. I'd be like, they're making me do this horse shit over and over and over again for what? And you're like, oh, you can totally skip that. What? Like, the amount of times I waste, like, I bet if you distilled this series down to stuff that actually mattered, it would be like 3 episodes long and it would take 45 minutes because I spent so much time on stuff that did not matter.
Yeah.
And just, but
and
again,
there's no way to know.
Right. There's no way to know. And they make the world so like I said, vibrant and full that you want to kind of investigate this stuff and you want to see what's going on with these people and you want to learn more about their story. But but it just feels like you are constantly up against the clock. You know, you're constantly up against this thing. The moon is literally getting closer. It is literally like,
it's daunting.
I believe at one point I was like, the moon kind of has a point. Like, let's just destroy all of this. Like, let's just
fuck lockdown.
Let's just let's just fucking destroy this whole. Let's just level this whole world because it sucks and I hate it. Like, it's I don't know. Like, I think I don't have a 3DS yet. I might have one coming. So, and if it's supposedly includes some Zelda games with it. So if it does have the Majora's Mask 3D remake in it, I'm sure at some point, not for content, but I'm sure at some point I will at least get the curiosity to like, let's just give this a try. Like, let's see.
And you'll have the experience of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you'll know what to do.
Right. I won't be so I won't spend the first 45 minutes searching around for those bomb kids.
Oh my God.
And
it's annoying.
It took me so long just to figure out how to get a map of Clocktown because I was fumbling around Clocktown trying to figure out why do I keep ending up in West Clocktown versus South? Why is South in the middle? This makes no sense. Like, I was so like that little like detail was already frustrating to me from Jump Street. So it's like, we're not in, like, I bet anyone who is watching those videos, like, who knows what they're doing has to be going, oh honey, like, you're in trouble.
that's gonna be me.
You're gonna be like, oh no. Like, you could have made this so much easier on yourself.
It is like, there's just no way to know. Like in Ocarina of Time, right, when you go to the Deku Tree, like, I think I just watched you do this maybe a week or two ago. The compass is there, the map is there, you have to get them before you can progress. It's like required. Here, you don't have to do any of it, right? You don't have to get the map. You could just remember, but you should.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, you definitely should. And Tingle is up there.
But don't tell someone with my personality that they don't have to do something, because then they will not do it.
Yeah, no, clearly you're not even finishing the game, obviously. Like, so much of it, like, I think a big mistake, I don't know that it's a mistake because I don't think people make mistakes, they just make choices. Ew, okay, that's what I said. But so something you did that would maybe have helped you in the long run maybe enjoy this game more was actually, instead of rushing each temple, because in Ocarina of Time you have to go to each temple, you don't have
that's the next thing you do.
And in Majora's Mask you have that rich, vibrant world to take part of, and by doing the side quests, or by farming money, by depositing rupees, by playing the mini game so you get a larger quiver, that means that you can have more shots in your, because like I have the largest quiver right now with 50. Right. I don't know if you did that. I think you probably still have the 20. Right. And so like, when you lose all your fucking arrows because you're like missing the boss, you just like it's shitty, right? It is shitty.
It is.
I have a few questions for you in terms of the Wii U gameplay. Do you have like the gyroscopic bow aiming? Oh, no. So you just have to use the joystick.
Yeah, that's why the Wii U is an abomination of a controller, like, or of a console. Like, it just should be, the whole thing should just be nuked from space, because like everything that was good about the Wii U, they did better on the Switch.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like the gyroscoping thing is not there. So that was a problem in Ocarina too. That wasn't only a Majora problem, but like the precision aiming of both the bow and the hook shot was atrocious. Like, you would have to be like picture perfect to get it onto the next target, and it would either go like way above or way below. Yeah. And there was no in between. And yeah, that was torturous. And then the whole, like, I think I talked to you about this before, but the whole like mapping the C buttons to the right analog stick.
Yeah, that's tough.
That sucks so hard. Playing the ocarina became a chore. Like, it became this thing of like I dreaded having to play the ocarina for things, because it was like, it would be like on like a half-second delay, and then I might like accidentally go a little bit too far to the left with the controller instead of straight up, and it would ruin the whole song.
Yeah.
Cannot stress enough how the Wii U version is the worst possible way to experience this game. Like,
I don't know why they wouldn't port it to Switch. I just don't understand why they don't do that for these games, like.
I mean, I feel like it would be so much easier. Like, just don't. Although I don't know how they would. Incorporate, like, is the C button thing. I'm assuming on the 3DS there's more face buttons available that you can use for the ocarina.
Yeah, you've got like you have a D-pad. on the left. You have the thumbstick and a D-pad. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, on the Switch though, I don't know how. I don't know. Well, no, the Switch has the D-pad on the left, so you could use that for the Ocarina. I don't know. Yeah, this is the worst possible way to experience it, and it's
I'm so sorry.
I mean, that's not your fault. It's my it's my fault for waiting 20 years to play it and not getting a 3DS like before 2021. Like that's really what it is.
I didn't even think that there would be such a big difference in the gameplay, because this is like, I owned it on 3DS, but I didn't get very far in it, and so I picked it back up, and it was so different. Like, there were save points for you, and actually I learned this the hard way, and I was really pissed off about this. I reset time without saving, and I was like, okay, that's fine, because that's how you save in the original game, right? You reset time, it starts anew, whatever progress you made, good. That's not what happens in the 3DS version. So I reset time. I went back to the dawn of the first day, and the 3 masks I got were gone. And I was like, wait, what? So it was super shitty.
That brings up a question. So in the 3DS version, is there have they changed the mechanic or changed the ability to work the controls with regards to the masks, putting on, taking off? Because to me, at a certain point, particularly once you got into that last temple where you had to create all the statues, it was sort of like the water temple, having to pause, put the mask on the C-pad, unpause, put it on, switch the mask, do the thing. Like, it was back and forth to the pause menu over and over. Did they do a button for it like they did with Ocarina and the Iron Boots?
So that's what's surprising to me, is maybe because like I don't really understand that, because like every time, even in the N64 version, you could map the masks to a C button.
Yeah, you could, for sure. But
then you just turn it on and off.
Right. But if you have an area where you need arrows and you need the Ocarina and you need a mask, then you've only got space for one mask on your C buttons. And if you're going to be doing a Zora mask statue and a Goron mask statue and a Link statue, then you're going to need 3 different spots, to do all your stuff. Or you need the stone mask, which I also didn't get until way too late in the game. Like, you're going to need that to like ward off the enemy that is like an insta kill. Like, so there's all these things that you're like trying to balance, and you're just going back and forth to the pause menu. Like, take this mask off, put another one in, put another one off, put another one in. And it was just like, I really hope they fix this in the 3DS version.
They did.
Because
they sucks. Did. You still have to map it, but you have more buttons, right? Because you have the touch screen of the 3DS, and then you actually have the buttons too. So they gave you like a 1 and 2 Roman numeral button, which you can just tap to get it on and off. But I don't remember that really being an issue when I was a kid, but that's also because like I died a lot. It's just, it's whatever. At that point, it was just like, I need to figure out how to make this work. So
yeah. I mean, there's definitely, I would say there's probably like 10 to 20% of my complaints about the game are legitimate. The other 80% of my complaints about this game are all my own fault. And
just salt.
Just salt, and like the version I was playing on, and like the way I was playing it for the nature of content, and just like all of that stuff. Like that, there's a good game in there somewhere. I'm not suggesting that it's completely like, it was just, I experienced it in the worst possible way imaginable, and did my own self a disservice by not going and doing any of the side quests, not going and doing any of the, like, again, like you said, it really does change your perspective, or like your thought process when you're coming at it from an Ocarina angle. Like, I was operating under the assumption that I was going to get all these heart containers, I was going to get all this health, I was just going to find these great fairy fountains and be able to, because in Ocarina,
fire.
You just in Ocarina, all you need to do is just find them and play Zelda's Lullaby, and it's like done. But then here it's like everything's a fucking fetch quest, like, and you got to go out and find all these fairies in the temples and stuff. And why are all the masks nightmare fuel too? Like, why is
isn't it so cool though? Like,
why is the fairy mask just complete
terrifying
nightmare fuel?
It is terrifying. Link in any of those masks is terrifying. And I think when you put on like, or you take off the Deku Scrub mask and then you put it on for the first time, and he goes like into this terrified like,
it took me way too long to realize that you could skip those too. Like,
you just were watching it.
I was like, every time I was like pretty much almost done with Woodfall, and I was like, God damn, do I have to watch this stupid cutscene every single time I put this mask? And then I think I just bumped the button by accident and it skipped it. And I was like, oh, you could do that the whole time. So again, it's all my own fault. It's all my own fault.
You have to learn it. And then the unfortunate bit is that you learned it on camera, so everybody could see.
Everybody could, see my discovery in real time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've established that I made it probably a solid like 85% of the way through the main story. What was in that 15% that I know kind of the broad strokes of what happens, but I want to hear about it from somebody who's actually personally done it and most importantly personally did it as a kid, so they're looking at it through the most rose-colored glasses possible. Like what was that experience like for you?
So once you complete the Stone Canyon boss, right? That's another giant that you free, and you have 4 giants now, right? You have the giant from Woodfall, from the Great Bay Temple, from Snowhead, and Stone Canyon. I keep forgetting the name of that one. But all 4. And the ending is essentially you wait until Clocktown is in dire danger, and it's the midnight of the 3rd day. And you go up to Skull Kid, and unlike the first time around when you played the Song of Time and you reset time, you play the Oath to Order, which is what you learned from the very first giant, which is like the greatest song, by the way. It's just so like, it's just like, that just sends like shockwaves through me as a kid, you know? It's just so like large and almost operatic, but it's not. And then you get transported into a tree, kind of. You get transported in like inside the moon or something, and you see this like tiny figure at the base of a tree who I assume is Skull Kid, or like the spirit of Skull Kid, or maybe the spirit of Majora. So Majora's mask is the mask. Everything is related to the mask. The mask has an evil spirit inside of it, and that's why when the Skull Kid puts it on, he turns into a little shit. Not a little shit, a huge giant turd that like is ruining the entire thing. And as a kid, when you get up there, like the moon it's beautiful. It's like green and there's a tree and it's just like, whoa, you know, this is not what you've seen really. And you then go into the room. You play the Oath to Order. Oh, sorry, I totally skipped this bit. The giants come when you play the Oath to Order when you're on top of the clock tower, and they basically stop the moon from falling. Except they can't. So you get transported inside the moon because Majora's Mask does some weird shit. And then you fight Majora's Mask. I thought you had to do a boss rush, which is like the optional items collecting. But you don't have to. So you can go and fight Majora's Mask, and it takes these many forms of evil spirits, and you know, you have like different boss forms and things like that. And at the end, once you complete it, the giants do successfully stop the moon from falling, and the festival happens. And you get to see all the people, if you interacted with them, you get to see all the people sort of culminate their quest, like the ending of what has happened. The Indiegogos, right? Like the Zora people, the Zora band, you get to see them perform. You get to see the Goron Elder and the little kid, you know, sing the lullaby. It's very cute. It's like, it's just very sweet. And I think the greatest thing about that is like at the end of all of the hard work you've done, it's a very simple ending, right? Like the end of Ocarina of Time is not fulfilling at all, right? She's just like, I'm going to send you back so you could be a kid and enjoy your life, right? It's fucking annoying. I'm like, Zelda, I did all this shit. Like, let me see what happens. Let me like be your bae in your castle with you or something as adult Link. But no.
Hey, he's already committed to the fish lady, so.
Okay, do you ship Mifa and Link in Breath of the Wild, or are you a Zelda Link? Yeah, I guess Zelda. Right?
Yeah, Ruto in Ocarina. That was the one that was like, I don't know. Every girl in that game is thirsty for Link except for Impa, like, which would be, you know, a crime. But
yeah, just a little bit of a crime.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, I guess when I was a kid, I was always partial to Saria. How did we?
Saria?
Saria? Okay.
Saria. I feel like it's Saria.
That's gonna
just how I say it.
That's gonna take another 30 years of deprogramming for me to get that figured out.
I don't know what it said. I feel like it's Saria though.
As a kid, it was always Saria for me. It was always Saria, and it was always Skulltella. And then I became an adult, and I got Berenstain Baird, and I was like, wait, there's a U in there this whole time. Like it says Skulltula.
I thought it was Skullatula. So when you told me that, I was like, wait, is that not how you say it? And it's not how you say it. And I was like, oh shit.
If there's one thing I've learned from doing this series, it's that Zelda fans no matter what, cannot agree on how to pronounce
Say
anything.
things.
Like,
Look, it's
I
a
get
Japanese developer.
there's some sociopath out there who thinks that it's pronounced like Gayrudo or something, and like
Not Garudo. It's Garudo.
yeah,
It's got to be. How do you say it?
the Zora. Like, there's some asshole out there who just pronounces all these names in the worst possible
way. That's it. That's canon in their head. But yes, let me so at the very end of Majora's Mask, there's a scene where the Skull Kid, right? He is the protagonist of this, the antagonist of the story.
Mm-hmm.
He is maskless, right? Because the mask falls off, the evil spirit has been cleansed, and he's the fucking Skull Kid from. I don't think you've gotten there yet in the playthrough because you're not at Adult Link yet, right? So for what's released.
Oh yeah, in Ocarina, I know where he. I don't think I ever actually went and visited him.
Okay.
In my playthrough, but I've done it on previous.
You get it. You know what it's from. Yeah. So you see that little kid again, and he like has Tattle and Tail, the two fairies, and they're like, the giants were his friends, and he thought that his friends had forgotten about him and like were abandoning him, and so that's why he put on this mask and turned into a shit, and that's why he was so manipulative to Tail, which is the other fairy that's Tattle's brother, and he was so obsessed with being their friends, and that's why they did like mean-spirited tricks, and he was just hurt the whole time. And I think like as a kid, it's like a really nice. As an adult, it's like, why are you fucking shit? You don't get what you want all the time.
Destroy the entire world because you think your friends are being assholes.
Right. But as a child, it's a very nice story, and I think he says there is something he says. He's like, you smell like the kid who taught me that song in the forest. Which is really cute, and it's like cute. A full circle kind of, this is Link from Ocarina of Time, and you teach Skull Kid the song as a kid, I think, right? You don't teach him as an adult.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I
forget. He's part of the trading game, I think, the kid trade, which becomes the whole premise of Majora, basically, is the Happy Mask trading sequence from when you're a kid in Ocarina. That's basically what they built the whole game of Majora on. Is from that
is exactly it. That is exactly it. And I think that, when you I didn't even think, like, I didn't put two and two together, but that makes so much sense. It's exactly what you do. It's just much, much, much larger.
Yeah.
And much harder. much harder.
Much more punishing. Much makes you question. I think I said it several times when I was in the course of doing this series. Like, I was in an abusive relationship with this game. Like, I just kept being like, okay, like, this is gonna pay off to be something really great.
I'll just take it a little bit more, and I'll just go in the other room and not say anything, and just go again.
I can't just leave. Like, this game has all my CDs. Like,
the cost sunk fallacy. Except you quit. I mean, you quit. You were just done. I really wish it were possible for me to just beat that boss for you, and then you just continue, because you were I do
too, because damn, like Jake said this. I was complaining to Jake about this the other night, and I was like, fuck this fucking boss. Like, I quit. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I hate this game. And he was like, man, it sucks that this isn't. He was like, because it's Jake. First thing he said was, well, first of all, I was right. Like, that was the first thing he was like, I told you so. I told you that game sucked.
Good God, I can't believe the two of you.
Secondly, he was like, it sucks that this was in a more modern game, because there would totally be a story mode where you couldn't die, and you could just knock this out and move on with the story. Because that's the thing, like, that is one of the most I think valuable, like, modern gaming innovations, has been the story mode kind of being a standard practice in games, where it's just like, if you really just want to watch the story and just play through it and not have to worry about the difficulty level, you can do that. And that was something that wasn't in the thought process of any game developer in 2000 or 2001, whenever this game came out. Like, that just wasn't. If anything, it was the opposite. It was like, how can we make this as hard as humanly possible, to make it last as long as humanly possible, to cover up for the fact that it's enough data to fit on a floppy disk, like, it's these are very small games, and so we have to make them feel as big as possible, because otherwise you're done with it in 6 hours and you've wasted $80, because N64 games were priced in cocaine.
They were. They were pretty much weight of gold, at least. Yeah, and I think that that's a really good point, because if you think about Ocarina of Time comparatively, you have the first three temples that you have to do as a kid, and then you turn into Adult Link, and then you have 7 temples to complete, and then you go to Ganon's Castle. 7, right? Or is it 6?
It's Forest, Fire. You get the light medallion just for free. So
okay,
forest,
yeah, maybe I'm thinking of this.
Forest, fire, water, shadow, spirit, and then Ganon's castle, I guess, counts as a 6th dungeon. So
is it only 6? I
yeah,
thought there was 7. I don't know why.
five temples in total, and then six medallions in total, and then you get only 5 of which require this is so dumb. Five temples, and then Ganon's castle counts as a dungeon, even though it's not really. Like it's
a very simple dungeon.
It is a very simple dungeon.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
so but like that's a long game, you know, like
yeah, oh for sure.
That's lengthy. And for Majora's Mask, I think the issue is like they put all these mechanics in it to increase the length, but also to give you the options to not do them. And so I don't know. It's one of those things because you can choose to do only the dungeons. Oh, I have a question for you. This is completely unrelated.
Please.
Did you capture any fairies in bottles?
Just the regular ones, like just the.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Occasionally, not nearly as I was not nearly as judicious about it as I was in Ocarina, because again, muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like from playing it as a kid, where it was like, oh, you better have fairies because restore points are not a thing in 1998. So like, you better have fairies, man. And so I did that in Ocarina, but then I realized I was like, well, I'm playing on the Wii U. I don't need fairies really. I can always just set a restore point and start the boss fight over if I die.
I guess I'm trying to think of what a restore point is on the Wii U, and I don't remember what it is.
It's just so like anything, it's a save. Like, so you can only do one at a time. Okay. But any of the virtual console games, so whether it be NES, SNES, any of those emulated games, you can reset with I think it's the right trigger button. You can set a restore point wherever you are in the game. So it doesn't matter if it's a save point or not. You know, you could be mid boss fight and you could set and as we get deeper into the Majora series, you see that I'm setting restore points more and more frequently, where it's like, not only am I setting them at the beginning of boss fights, I'm setting them within boss fights as I get several hits. Like I'm like, okay, we've done a couple hits and we still haven't taken damage. Better do another restore point, because otherwise we're gonna have to start all this bullshit over again. Like, and so, so like, as I realized that I could do the restore points, I got the fairies less and less. Still got them occasionally, but like way less and less. The other thing was that I went through probably 70% of the game with only one bottle. It was way late. It was right before I started this last temple, where there was a fetch quest or like a side quest thing where you had to have 2 bottles. Like you could not complete it. You physically could not complete it without a second bottle. And so then I had to like go fucking find the one bottle you could get without doing a goddamn race.
Did you not race to the beaver and get the bottle?
No, I didn't race the goddamn beaver, and I didn't race the Goron either.
You did. Oh yeah. That was good. It was fun.
Yeah, but it would have required me to go back and fight the
Goron
boss again to thaw all the ice and then go do the thing. Like I was like, fuck that noise. I'm not doing that. So I found the one bottle you could get with Jampe.
Oh, okay.
The graveyard one, like where you just dig up the fire, have him dig up the fire. And so I just did that one, and I was like, all right, fine, I have a second bottle. But then even still, in order to like complete that one side quest, or it's not a side quest, like a mini dungeon. In order to complete that one like straight through, you really need 3 bottles, because you have to have a Poe, milk, and what was the other thing? A fish.
A fish, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the whole dungeon is a trading sequence. I was like, mad.
They reuse these mechanics, don't they?
I was so fucking mad while I was doing that. I was like, unfortunately, I wasn't on camera because I'm just like muttering the whole time, like, this is so fucking stupid.
Oh, man.
But so I had to I had to like give 2 of the whatever things were, and then had to go leave, get more milk, come back, and give the guy the thing. Ugh, it's so frustrating.
That's frustrating. And again, could have been avoided if you had more bottles, if you raced the beaver.
I just raced which I think I did one time,
you clearly didn't win.
Got my ass handed to me so thoroughly.
That's a hard one.
I was like, you know what? We're done with this. Like, I don't need bottles. I completed an entire game before this without needing more than 1 or 2 bottles.
One or two bottles.
I'm not doing this.
Totally different game. Totally different game. Much easier game.
See, and that was the other thing. I think this was probably the first complaint I registered with you. Was the beans. I was like, this is a direct sequel to Ocarina. Narratively, we've established, like, because he says at the beginning like that Zelda like kind of kicked him out or whatever and was like, go be a kid, go do things, go see the world. So like it's the same Link from last game, and we get the Skull Kid thing at the end where he's like, you know, you're the same kid from before, taught me the song, whatever. So it's a direct sequel. There were beans in the last game. Why do I need to learn how to use beans all over again in the next game? That made me so mad.
Do you remember I was telling you how to use them? You're like, no, I already know how to use them. I was like, oh, right. Yes,
I was like, I know how to use them, but the game doesn't know that I know how to use them.
That was like literally 10 seconds of your life, though. If you're gonna complain about something.
Well, yeah, but like it was just the first, and that's why I remember it. So you never forget your first complaint.
Yeah.
You never forget your first complaint about this game because it left a mark. It set us off on the wrong foot because I was like, really? Well, no, really what was the first thing was that I couldn't save. And then you had to be like, no, seriously, just play like 10 more minutes. I was like, but I don't wanna.
You're like, I'm fucking done.
I'm done. Yeah. Do this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It is. It's a tough game.
Yeah. Fuck. If you want to put a like point, put too fine a point on it, put a period on the end of the sentence. It's a hard game.
It is.
Like, but yeah,
it's real hard.
It's real hard,
it's
but
punching. It's rewarding, man.
It is. It could be rewarding if you're doing it under the right circumstances, if you're not playing it on the Wii U. And if you're approaching it with the right attitude, you know, if you're approaching it with that attitude of like discovery and like learning things and like trying to really like immerse yourself in the world rather than just checking boxes, which I think is what I was doing. It's just like, I'm trying to check the next box to get to the next thing and like power through, which was, I know now is not the way to go about it. Am I going to go back and remedy that at all? No. Of course not. I'm an American. I don't admit my mistakes.
No, of course not.
I'm an American male at that. Like, I'm not gonna. No, but
it's the game that's flawed, not me.
That's right. It's the children who are wrong. I'm not out of touch. Yeah. No, but yeah. So I think I can respect where it is in. So here's the other question. What you said this was like your first like. This is where you fell in love with Zelda series. Was this your first Zelda game, though?
I played poorly A Link to the Past.
I think everyone did for a while.
I didn't know how to do anything. I think I was like maybe 6 or 7. I literally did not know how to do anything. At that time, I was playing like Street Fighter 2 with my uncle and also Unreal Tournament, right? Those are much different games than Link to the Past. And
I was in a fight club when I was 6. It's no big deal.
Oh man, no, those were like such good memories though. Just hearing like people scream "die bitch" when you're 8, you're like, oh, what is that? I don't think I should have had access to that, but I played A Link to the Past. I hated it. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I didn't understand like, and I still hate games like that. That actually ingrained in me how little I like these 2D games that are like
the top down, like
yeah.
Same. I've like Jake stands Link to the Past so hard. And like, it's fine. It's good. I don't have any problem with it, but I just have never warmed up to the 2D top-down Zeldas. Like, have never my first one was Zelda 1. I think I said this in the Ocarina series. My brother left behind his NES when he went to college, and he left behind, Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and all that shit. And he also left behind Zelda 1. And I remember playing it as a kid and being like you said, utterly fucking confused because like that game is obtuse on a level you can't even imagine. Like Zelda 1
made them hard.
Yeah, it just made them hard and made them like you could never progress unless you knew exactly what you were doing. And so like when I'm thinking in my head of like how I would like rank this game, like how I would put Majora's Mask, like because it's not as obtuse and anger inducing as those are for me. But I do sort of put it in the like maybe Zelda 2 category, which is the weird side-scrolly one that makes you like get magic. It's almost like a Final Fantasy thing. Like it makes you level up your magic and makes you like level up all this other weird shit. And there's lots of menus involved. Easiest way to turn me off of a game is make me fuck with a bunch of menus with a bunch of text.
Menus. Yeah.
This is a video game. If I wanted to do homework, I would just go do homework. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that on a game. Like, but so like, I think if I'm ranking it, I would have to put it in that like. It can't even be ranked. Like it's in that tier with Zelda 2 where it's like, this is another kind of game that I can respect its existence, but I also want to keep it as far away from me as humanly possible. But it's also not as bad as Zelda 1 and Link to the Past for me, where it's like, I'm never touching that shit again. Where it's like, I'm just that makes me angry just thinking about it. Yeah.
Oh, that just makes me so sad because it's just so good. Like there is so much good in it, and I really do feel if you have the time to understand the richness of the world. Like I think the greatest thing as an adult now that I can reflect on this game and think about it is that it is so dark compared to Ocarina of Time, right? I mean, not like graphically, but
no,
like
but
yes,
tone-wise.
graphically too. Yes, tone-wise, it is much darker. It's much more. It's so funny because in Ocarina of Time, Link is forced to grow up. He gets forced to go to sleep. He's forced to grow up. Right. In this, Link is forced to grow up, but he's still a child. It's you interact with all these adult problems, which I know you didn't really get to those storylines and things like that. But
I like how you have to keep qualifying all this. Like, I know you missed like 99% of this game.
And 97% of the game.
There's all this there's this whole other game out there that you didn't play.
But even when you had to race the shitty Gorman brother, the guy who stole Epona, and like fucking did that whole fake alien shit on the ranch, on Romani Ranch, so that he could steal the milk, right?
Yeah.
That in and of itself, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is whatever, this is cool. You get to get Epona. But now as an adult, I'm like, wow, what a shitty fucking person. And they're like right next to each other. Like, how dare he do that? And then like you really think about the things Skull Kid did. And he turned Cafe, who I mentioned earlier, into a little child. And Cafe and Andrew are meant to get married. And Cafe is actually the mayor's son. So it's like a huge deal. And she ends up, you're like, what is this game? What happened?
Who are these people?
Yeah. But that is a big thematic element of Majora's Mask, which I think makes it so appealing. And it's much, much heavier. And you still are like, it's still Link being forced to grow up. Breath of the Wild is kind of the same thing. Link is like super forced to grow up. He gets put into 100-year sleep to save the whole world, right? So
no pressure at all.
Never. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I appreciate it. And like really what's going to happen is that like give it a year or two and Jake will just foist upon you like he did me, like capture card equipment, and just make you do a series on this yourself so that we can erase the stain that was this series off the channel. He'll just be like, here, do it better, because his was terrible and honestly a little bit sad to watch. Like you're gonna feel sad by the time you're gonna be like, oh, like man, he's
all the respect I have for you is gone. Like it's already gone. Don't worry.
We should check on him more. Like this is not okay. Like it was I will say that like
so I will pity you by the end.
Oh, if you don't pity me already, then you're not paying attention. But like if like it might not be the worst. It's not the worst game I've ever played, but it is definitely the most frustrating. Like it's the most frustrated I have ever found myself playing a single game, where it's like, like it just makes you want to scream, like where you're just like, I don't know what to do. And this game's giving me zero context clues as to what I should do next. And it's just like a very helpless feeling, and then you add on top of that, the added layer of stress of the time mechanic. And you're just like you're literally watching time melt away underneath of you. And I'm happy to be done with it, but I don't regret doing it. Like as frustrating as it was, I'm happy to have experienced it, and I'm happy to hear like your perspective on it too. Like I think in an ideal world, I would have had you just like either be like a co-pilot on this one and like have you just walk me through it.
You?
Yeah.
No,
go that way. No, go that way. Don't just go that way, man. Like that would have been I would have saved myself so much anguish. Or just like I said, you just do it and then we all get to watch you do it because you're the expert. Like I feel like you have the same relationship with that game that I do with Ocarina. Like probably. I can do Ocarina for the most part, with a few exceptions. I can do Ocarina in my sleep. Like, but Majora, it was like, look, man, I ain't got the time. Like
or the patience.
And like, I'm an adult.
How much abuse are you gonna take? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, fuck this.
It's like, it made you hopeless, and the time mechanic was a stress, and it's like that entire game manifested you as a person. And
yes,
maybe that was the point.
Maybe that was the point. Maybe that's why so many millennials are in therapy now. It's because Majora's Mask like dug up all this underscored trauma and like. Well, thank you so much. Man. Thank you so much for being my spiritual advisor / nemesis through this entire series. Like, and I only say nemesis because you're such a big cheerleader for this game. Like, so on one side, you're like, you know, hey, like it gets better. It's really like, you know, you're like, just go this way. Like, I know you're confused, but go this way. But then on the other side, you're like, but it gets really good. Like, it's going to be so worth it. I promise. And like, it just wasn't. It wasn't worth it. So it's very like abusive relationship here where you're dangling this carrot in front of my face that things are going to get better. And I'm just more and more frustrated with each passing episode. But no, I appreciate you sticking with me.
And just watch the ending.
I will watch the ending. That will be the one piece of advice of yours that I will actually follow to the letter. I will go watch the ending and
the most important
figure out what I missed the last 15% or so of the game. But all right, well.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing this.
Sorry, it sucked so bad for you.
Yeah, boy, what a first impression to make. Like,
yeah,
you're just like, hey, I'm new here. Like, let's be friends. Like, you want to play my favorite game of all time? Psych, it sucks. Like,
it's just like you suck at it. Let's say that instead.
Wow.
Leave it on that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
listen. I grew up on Unreal Tournament, all right? I talk shit. It happens.
Apparently so. All right. Text Jake as soon as we're done with this. I don't know if it's going to work out with this one. Like, so, all right. Well, we are going to get out of here. Thank you, Zaheda, once again for helping me out with this one. Next week, we're going to be on to a brand new, much better, much less painful game in The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. A game that that was my follow-up to Ocarina, like because I said I never played Majora, so I waited a full 5 years.
Yeah,
crazy to think about, right? Like 5 full years before I played my next Zelda, and can't wait to get into that. So check us out next week. Check out some of the other shit on the channel. Jake on Mondays, Jake and Lizzie on Wednesdays. You think I'd have this memorized by now. Lizzie on Fridays, and Lauren whenever the fuck she feels like it. And subscribe to all the bullshit up top, and we will catch you next week, gang, for more Legend of Zelda. Bye.